by the look of it, you've come up in the world.
I could say the same about you.
Daria, I want to start with you. There was so many concepts you had for Daredevil Born Again, and I remember reading that some of the concepts you had to kind of be reworked in service of the greater MCU continuity. I'd love if you could speak at all to what some of those earlier concepts were and how you restructured them in order to fit the greater narrative for Daredevil.
I don't really feel like there was much that had to change to fit into the MCU. A lot of the stuff that I started out with, you saw. If you saw the first 10-15 minutes of the first episode, that was the pitch. You know, that this is what happened in their lives, and we go off the back of that. There hasn't been a lot of do this so it fits into the MCU. There has been like, you get to play with this from the MCU. So in terms of when I come in to pitch them what I would do with the show, it remained pretty consistent. The only changes have been a few bonuses of characters that we've gotten to play with.
Mm-hmm. And speaking of that, your first MCU project, Ms. Marvel, we know that Ms. Marvel's father is going to factor into this series in some capacity. I'd love to just know with tones that you're mashing together here, Daredevil is very TVMA, Ms. Marvel is very, you know, family friendly. What's it like to kind of bring a character like that into this very heavy R-rated world?
It was like such a fun challenge, I have to say. I was laughing a lot because I do think that's the most MCU aspect of like a cameo like that, is that we brought some of that kind of comedic energy that the MCU is known for with Yusuf Khan. And the challenge is, we're not living in the Ms. Marvel world or Ms. Marvel corner, we're living in the Daredevil corner. So just making sure that the tone complements Matt Murdock. I think actually we found a lot of richness in that, because Yusuf Khan, for him, he's actually familiar with like super powered beings. So even though he does not know who Matt Murdock is, it was really fun to see his reactions, because he wasn't actually as shocked as you might have thought. There's a couple cool moments that we got in there that was a bit of a wink to Ms. Marvel. So, you know, hopefully, I think people are gonna really enjoy that episode.
It's fun.
Yes.
Very cool. I love when we get to play with the civilian characters in the superhero world. I love when we get those civilian moments as well. There's a scene in the first episode where Wilson and Matt are just having a conversation in a diner. Dario, you made some headlines not too long ago where you said the original Daredevil was at its worst, two characters just talking about what it's like to be a hero. I want to ask, just because that scene in the diner is so good. So I'd love for just kind of clarification on what you meant by those comments.
I actually feel like my comments were taken way out of context. And the thing is, all television at the end of the day is two characters in a room having a conversation. And the thing about the Netflix show is they did that really, really, really well. And what I was talking about is the length and breadth of a lot of those scenes in the older show. And then, I did the exact same thing in this show, and with enthusiasm and abandon, and that is a nod towards the diner scene in Heat. It's two fantastic actors kind of rubbing up against each other and laying out the battle that is to come. I embrace that stuff. I don't really think that, I think what was taken as a swipe was not meant as a swipe.
Yeah, and we also pulled so much from like what we loved about that old show, which ultimately comes down to the character dynamics. Yes, the action is amazing, but it also is the drama, and the drama of two people hating each other and sitting in one room is where it all lives. One
of the old show's finest moments was two characters on a rooftop talking about if killing is good or bad with Frank and Matt.
Frank and Matt, I absolutely love that. So.
I'm just one bad day away from being you, Red. Or you're one bad day away from being me.
Yeah, and speaking of those character dynamics, I'm glad you brought up Frank. Fans love the dynamic between a Karen Page and Frank Castle.
Yes, me too.
Me too.
That reaction tells me we're gonna hopefully get to flesh out more of that in Born Again. Is that true?
I can't say anything. All I can say is I love them.
All I can say, and I mean, there's been yes, like yes, and Frank Castle, Karen Page, and Matt Murdock as being a little bit of a triangle is a thing.
Interesting. Fans are gonna eat that one up, that's for sure.
He just looks at her and they look at each other, and that says everything, and that's something that we talked about a lot in Right to True.
Well, they're giving me the wrap cue, guys. I have a million more questions. Hopefully we get to talk later in the season. Thank you again for your time.
Thank you so
I'm glad
much.
you dug it.
No, incarcerate maybe, kill.
Never. I wonder if your darker half would agree.